code ran in our Discord with a question that unfortunately took all of our pre-show prep time in the studio. Create the best 3v3 Olympic team of Sixers players who never made an All-Star game.
So I guess laying out some of the ground rules.
Okay.
Right? They had to have played for the Sixers, obviously. They were going based off of their career, not just their time with the Sixers.
Peak, whatever. Right. Their best year did not have to be with the Sixers.
And they obviously could not have made an All-Star team anywhere. Not just failed to make an All-Star team with the Sixers, but didn't make an All-Star team at any point in their career.
We didn't flip a coin. We didn't determine. I'm the point person of the mailbag. I was going to give it to Devon first.
Are we allowing players to be on multiple teams?
Yeah, I think it should be more of a discussion than like a pure draft.
Okay.
But
so you want all three, or you just want to start name by name?
Yeah, who were you thinking?
All right, so first name that I came up with for an all-star setting, kind of 3-on-3 type of setting, was Lou Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Lou Williams,
that's a good one.
Because of the year. I can't remember if it was Iguodala or if it was Holiday's year who made it. The Sixers were at the top of the Eastern Conference, and I think it was Iguodala's year, and they were talking about Drew Holiday, Lou Williams, Andre Iguodala as two of the three were going to make it that particular year. And this was that Detroit kind of year. Not I'm using that as an example. It's that Detroit kind of year of there's no real all-star here, but somebody's going to make it, and they're right at the top in the Eastern Conference. And Lou Williams was discussed in that way of being an all-star coming off the bench in that six-man role because of how important he was and how many points he was averaging that particular year. So for a 3-on-3 type of setting, I went with him first.
My guard, I went with Fred Carter. He put up some monster numbers there. He was on truly terrible teams, and because of that, he never got an all-star sniff. But you're talking about a guy who was averaging 21, 22 points per game every year for a couple of years there in a row. Pretty good passer and distributor. He was what I went with a lead guard.
Well, we got some score-first players in the backcourt.
It's 3 versus 3, buddy. You got to put up points.
That was why
I'm going after a different sort of player, a guy who could definitely score in a 3v3 environment, but who is going to get into Lou Williams' chest, bother him, pester him. That is process legend TJ McConnell, who I think would be absolutely miserable to deal with in a 3v3 setting. And frankly, since going on to Indiana, has gotten even better than he was here, right? Like he was a fringe rotation guy, turned into more of like a 6 through 8 man later in the process years. Now is like a legit 6-man type guard who also gives you some defensive punch at the point of attack. So give me TJ. I'm going to see if either of you thought of this player. Tony Kukoc is my guy. And I'll tell you why.
Great one.
He is a very creative player for that, not the non-big spot, right? Very good passer at his size. Shooting wise, the numbers are not sensational just because that was a different era. But I think he's got great touch. He's someone who could score out of the mid-range. If you put him in the mid-post, he can do just about anything, right? Like he can make a shot over smaller players, help you with rebounding a little bit. But mostly he's going to do some magic out of that spot and throw some behind-the-back passes. He's going to connect with my big, who I'll get to later. But Kukoc was somebody that I actually think it was kind of a shame that they moved him in that trade to Atlanta for Mutombo, because they were in need of some secondary creation and passing next to Iverson on that 0-1 team. I know Larry Brown didn't like him for defensive purposes, but having the offensive utility that he did was, I thought, pretty meaningful for that team. So this is vindication for Tony Kukoc.
I'm going to go with one of the guys who he let a lot of people down overall for who he was, especially when he was drafted and the name value that goes with it and what he was able to do for his career. He comes from New Jersey, the big forward, but the man can score. I'm going with Tim Thomas as a guy because when he was with the Bucks specifically, I remember hearing him talking about it. I believe he was talking about it on the Knuckleheads podcast with Quentin Richardson and Darius Miles, and he spoke about how he was disappointed because he thought he should have made an all-star team when he was with the Bucks when they were really rolling with Ray Allen, Sam Cassell, Glenn Big Dog Robinson, and he thought that he should have
He
done
definitely
that.
had his moments.
He
that
had
was
his
the
moments.
frustrating part
Yes.
with Tim
And
Thomas.
that's-
Is like
yeah.
he had these games or even like stretches of seasons where it's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this guy's the prototype wing. And then
Yep.
3 weeks at a time, he's just
Kind of
like floating through
because
games.
it was always easy for him.
Yeah.
But when you look at his numbers, and his impact on the floor and scoring ability, when we're talking about non-All-Star, maybe had a chance to do so, was on a team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals playing against the Sixers, and in this type of environment, I'm going to make Tony Kukoc work here because while we're both going to give up points on that end, I'm going to make him work because Tim Thomas could score the basketball.
Will, the human matador.
Oh man, 2 matadors because Tim Thomas is the same way. But if we're going to give up some points, we're going to score some points as well. So I'm going with Tim Thomas as my forward.
I went with Jason Richardson as my second pick, and he was a guy.
He never made an All-Star team. I'm surprised by that.
I almost didn't even look it up because I assumed he did because he was never great. But he was really good for a really long stretch.
It's like a 20-point per game scorer.
Yeah, for like 10 years straight.
6 boards, so good athlete, so he can help you out there.
Could distribute a little bit. He could play on ball, off ball, secondary creator. Can even move a little bit off of a screen and shoot on the movement. I think you want 2 guys. I think in a 3 versus 3, you want 2 guards, with one of them a big guard preferably, and a big man. And I really wanted both of these to have a little bit of creation in them. That's who I went. And like I said, I was pretty stunned that he didn't make an All-Star team at any point. I thought with Golden State he would have made at least one, but he was who I went with.
So who's your big?
I went with Mike Jaminski. Mostly because I was going to go with your big, but we talked about it beforehand and didn't want the overlap. G-Man had a pretty good tenure there until he got...
Oh, that was mine. Mike Jaminski was going to be my
I forgot that. I even forgot that we were doing a snake. I thought we were going back to Kyle, so you would have had it.
Yeah, so I would have had Mike Jaminski in that one. So for me, I'll just go with I'll go with Rick Mahorn, never making the All-Star team.
Okay.
Even though he was a power forward,
if he doesn't play, I mean, in a 3v3, you don't necessarily need a true center, right?
And
as long as someone with size and can rebound.
He can pick and pop a little bit. He played back to the basket, and he's going to foul the hell out of somebody if they try to get to the basket. TJ can get up. I know he will. But I'm fouling the hell out of TJ McConnell with Rick Mahorn trying to drive to the basket in this 3-on-3.
I was trying to look for a center with a little more rim protection. I think that is the biggest flaw in my team.
And that's the only one, but he's offensively
It's
limited.
3v3. You're talking about rim protection. What the hell are we doing here? Come on.
I know Rick Mahorn can knock down a jumper, so I'm cool with it. Baseline, baby. Who you got?
I just wanted somebody who's going to grab rebounds and dunk the shit out of everything around the basket. Daryl Dawkins, baby. Never made an All-Star team, but is a great athlete. You have, again, with Kukoc operating out of the mid to high post, TJ doing a lot of those little Steve Nash dribble under the basket type of plays. I think Daryl Dawkins is going to eat good around the rim.
I think so.
Shout out to Daryl Dawkins. That's my big.
I think you easily have the best big there of all of them.
We all silly like the mayor.